Hello and welcome to the Craft Witch Corner, where I yap and craft. My name is Dax and my pronouns are he, they. It has been a very long time. Not getting into too much detail, a lot has been going on. I have not been able to film or edit or do any of the fun things that I was really enjoying doing for this channel. So finally I'm back in a position where I can do those things, and this is literally the first day I've been able to, and I immediately was like, yes, I gotta do it. So this video is going to be about my 2-year rune journey that is starting today. So today is March 1st and I'm back on another rune journey. This one obviously is lasting for 2 years, so I'm doing 1 month to each rune. The first rune in the Elder Futhark, which is what I work with, is, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this at all. The lighting may not be the best. You just have to work with what we have, but it's Fehu. And I'm doing the same thing that I did for my first 6-month rune journey, where I'm just using an eyeliner and I'm drawing whatever rune I'm on in this particular spot right here. I wanna make this a series where every month I make kind of a video about the rune that I'm on. And there's a lot of things that I'm not gonna share because I'm gonna be getting into a lot of spirit work stuff and like working with the spirits of the runes as a whole and the spirit of each individual rune. And if you're accustomed to spirit work, you know there's a lot of stuff that the spirits don't really want you to share with other people. So I have to kind of figure out what I can share, what I can't share, like for the respecting the spirits, but also respecting what I'm comfortable sharing or not. So it's gonna be kind of we're gonna see. These videos might not be very long. They might be very short and sparse and just, I don't know what it's gonna be like. Some of the things that I am pretty comfortable talking about are like my 6-month rune journey, and it's not professional. Get over it. I just printed out all the pages and then hole punched them, and I just used some like binding thread that I have for book binding, and I just tied it together and it works just fine. You could use thread, you could use yarn, you could use floss, you could use any string-like thing to do this. So if you have access to a printer, you can do this. It's not that deep. I was planning on making a cover for it, and I still might, like a fabric cover. I'm not gonna go too crazy into this one. I still might, but we'll see if it happens. I've been too busy and mentally ill and dealing with shit, so I haven't yet. But I may at some point, and if I do, I will include that in a video. It's not gonna be pretty, it's not gonna be professional, but it'll be functional, so that's really what I care about. With my 6-month rune journey, what I did was I spent 1 week with each rune. I drew it on myself. Every morning I would spend time at my computer and I would just write about the runes. Sometimes it was a lot. Sometimes it was more of a therapy entry or therapy session. Sometimes it was more of a diary entry. Like, I just wrote. I just wrote whatever. I really enjoyed it. I just spent time every day thinking about the rune, writing about the rune, and it was great. I consider the 6-month journey kind of more of like a getting to know the runes on like an acquaintance level. Just like getting to know the vibes, getting to know each other, being introduced to each other. And I am considering this 2-year journey more of like a getting deep with them, and kind of going through everything that I wrote about, everything that I feel like I learned about myself and about the rune that I was working with each week in my 6-month rune journey, and then figuring out how to apply that more so to my life and especially to my practice. There's like a lot of things in the 6-month rune journey that I wouldn't necessarily consider like wisdom I was receiving from the rune, which is more what I'm trying to do this rune journey. It was more just like me thinking. It's more my thoughts and less like a spirit work kind of a situation. So I am probably going to be sharing not everything, because some of it is really personal, but I do want to share some of the realizations I had during the 6-month rune journey. I don't know how much, and it's probably going to not be the same for every rune, because some of the runes I just got way more personal with. It was like therapy, you know? And some of it was more just like, oh, that's crazy, I've made this connection between these two things. I have also started to make a grimoire that is just for my rune journey, and I have not finished painting the cover and everything, but I'm probably just gonna leave it like this for the time being because I'm not really sure what I want to put on here. This is just for runic magic, just for my rune journey. I put already in the front pages, I have a few pages blank because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to put in them. I maybe want to like write a prayer to the runes, a pledge to the runes, something of that nature. In the first 2 pages, I did accidentally fuck up and start the index, which I already had a different plan for, but I forgot that I had a plan, so it'll remain blank for now. But my plan for the like inside cover here is that I'm going to make like a pocket, and I probably want to do some collage stuff with it or some kind of art piece to make it more fun. And then I'm just going to use, I have like just a bunch of like loose leaf, you know, lined paper. I'm going to write like the index on here and then just tuck it into the pocket. That way I don't have to worry about running out of space for the index. I added the English translations of the Norwegian, Icelandic, and Anglo-Saxon rune poems in here already. And then I already have rune meanings for the Elder Futhark that I work with that I got from not only the rune poems, but specifically from this video that I will link in the description from the Norse witch Benta. They made a whole series on the runes, which is fantastic and wonderful, and if you're into rune shit, go watch the series. It's really, really good. I can't remember which video, but I will link it, where they got into kind of the rune meanings, and they really connect with me, so that's what I use. There's some things that are more like I have a deeper understanding of different parts of what the runes mean based on my 6-month rune journey, like wealth and prosperity. That's like a very general meaning to me, whereas like the direction that I took with Fehu is very much like creatively using the resources you have, learning to budget, being content with what you have, and like not giving into the consumerism and like not letting capitalism rot your brain and make you feel like you need things that you don't need. So I have all the meanings, and then the next page after that I have an attunement exercise from Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. Really can't recommend the book enough. I may at some point, if there's any interest in it, do a review of the book, because I did really like it and I do still think it's a valuable resource, but there's definitely some critiques. I mean, a lot of people have critiqued it, don't get me wrong, but specific things I can say as a neurodivergent person and as more of a chaotic folk practitioner. There's a lot that I can say, and yeah, so if there's any interest in a book review of Psychic Witch by Matt Oren, I have so many thoughts. But overall, I really liked it, and I found it really helpful, and it has added so fucking much to my practice. So there's 2 particular exercises that I have written down in here from Psychic Witch. The attunement exercise, which was specifically written for the elements and the planets, but it can really be applied to fucking anything. Any energy or whatever that you're trying to connect to attune yourself to the energy of that thing, in this case the rune, and then the charging exercise to take that energy and pour it into an object or send it to a person or place. And then I've left some space to add some other basic exercises if I find any that relate to or that I'll be using a lot within this rune journey. Those are the only 2 that I could really think of specifically, but yeah. I may also use some of this. There's like 2 pages, and I may use some of that to just write down what I want to do in the 2-year rune journey, because I did make some notes, and that includes like doing 4 meditations for each rune. At least I can do as many as I want, but at least 4 meditations and at least 1 actual full spell. And then the other thing I want to do is I'm going to be making my own set of runes. Obviously I already have runes that I use for divination, and I want to keep those for divination, but over the next 2 years I also want to make my own set of runes, but specifically to use only for spell work. So I haven't decided what I'm going to make them out of yet. I'll have to figure that out before the end of this month, obviously. I am thinking either pieces of wood and I can carve, but I would have to find kind of like chunky ones because I don't want to have them be too small. Or I can collect rocks. Or I have a lot of shells. I love rocks, and I'm probably gonna end up doing the rock one. Basically what I'm gonna do is whatever it is that I choose to make the rune out of. Once I've done the attunement exercise, which I plan to do on the 1st of every month, before I've really looked through my 6-month rune journey again or anything, just so that I can have a clean slate and really be getting the true energies of the rune rather than kind of my brain making things up, if that makes sense. Although personally I still think that's valid because it's how I associate the rune or the planet or the whatever, but that's a whole different conversation that I know not everyone will agree with me on that, but that's just how I believe. My plan is to do the attunement exercise on the 1st of the month, and then spend the next week probably specifically going over everything I wrote in my 6-month rune journey for that rune and kind of summarizing everything into a way that I can like write down the key points in my runic grimoire. Once I find the item that will become the rune, I'm going to draw the rune on it and do the charging exercise and charge that rune with the energy of the rune. Then I'm going to start using that during runic magic that relates to that rune. That's pretty much the whole thing. I'm definitely not going to talk about all of the different things, but I kind of want to go over some of the highlights. So one of the things is that I really connect Fehu with the rabbit cardinal spirit. Part of this is because I also connect the rabbit spirit with Freya, and Freya is connected to Fehu, so there's that aspect, but also the rabbit spirit connection to like wealth, prosperity, fertility, a lot of the same kind of things. I do also relate the rabbit spirit with other runes as well, in particular Uruz, but next month. The biggest thing that I was kind of focusing on in the beginning of the week was recognizing and being able to understand when there's not an actual physical lack and when it's more of a mindset issue, and when like the rot of consumerism and capitalism is getting to you and making you feel like you're lacking something. Basically just being able to know when it's a you being irresponsible versus when you're actually lacking. Obviously, Fehu is the rune that I would use for abundance magic, and it's what I used for my abundance bowl, which is now more of a money bowl. When I first started it, it was an abundance bowl. So it was focused on not just bringing in wealth and money, but like bringing in an abundance of a lot of different things. If there's interest in hearing more about how I did my money bowl, I would happily talk more on that. But the other thing is I have a spell shawl that I knitted, and it's my inner power spell shawl. It's basically to help connect me with my inner potential and my inner power, and kind of pull that out of me and help me connect with it. What I really want to do at some point, maybe I'll remember, is I want to sew Fehu and Uruz onto it. Potentially, I might make a bind rune with them both, but I might also just have them separately, I don't know. Fehu is the potential and Uruz is the director of the energy. On the second day of my week with Fehu, I really got into like, what does abundance look like to me? Where do I feel like I lack? And what can I do to turn those things around and create abundance, not necessarily by bringing more money, if that makes sense. It looks like not worrying about the more that you could have, just being content, having enough that you aren't worried about lack. It's very Venusian and a very Taurus-like energy. Practical but sensual. Pantry full of food, clothes that fit comfortably, not feeling need. It's slow and earthy, not rushed, not desperate. It's peaceful. A lack of worry about material circumstances. So yeah, that's what abundance looks like to me. And then I went into where I was feeling a lack. I'm not going to talk about that because that was personal. But I then made a list of different things that I can do to kind of flip that around. And the one example I am going to give is, at the time of starting this, I was in a living situation where I did not have very much privacy. I didn't have my own space, and it was very difficult. The thing that would turn that around was moving into my own place with my fiance. We were already currently working on it at the time of starting this rune journey, but now we have moved and we have our own place and our own space. Then something else is like, I kind of looked at like, how can I have a mindset of abundance rather than like really focusing on externally, because the thing for me is you can have all the money in the world and still feel fucking miserable and feel like you don't have enough. The most important thing is to change how you perceive the world around you before you try to start bringing shit in, because if you feel like you're lacking, you're pretty much always going to feel like you're lacking. It's not going to change. Obviously, outside of the idea of legit like not having money to pay your rent, your bills, that's like a different conversation. But like when those basic bare needs, necessities are met, after that point, like for the extra stuff, if you are just trying to fill a hole of emptiness inside of your heart because of mental, emotional, spiritual, etc. traumas or issues that you've had, it's not gonna help. It's not gonna help. Like, it's just gonna make things worse. So focusing on how can I shift to a mindset of abundance without even having more money or whatever it is. Some of the things that I focused on is like, what do I already have an abundance of? I have an abundance of support, joy, respect, love, adventure, excitement, connection, and community already in my life. None of those require an increase in money to have more of. To have more abundant community, it's just like, get the fuck outside of your house. Talk to people, be around people, reach out to people, be there for those around you, and give a shit. Lack of material goods is a fallacy 9 out of 10 times. Again, when you have your basic needs met and like rent is paid, bills are paid, you have food, you're not starving, like you're surviving, you're good, you're safe, all of the consumerism shit really rots our brains and makes you feel like you need things that you don't need, that are not actually positively impacting your life when you have them. Recognizing and being very consciously aware that abundance does not equal consumerism. Having a consumeristic mindset just makes you feel like you're lacking so much more. I want to cultivate a mindset of abundance through creative usage of my current resources. Basically, to like allow abundance into your life, you do need to shift your mindset and how you perceive your own life and like the world around you and how you interact with everything, pretty much. My biggest desire is to have a joyful life no matter what level of resources I have. I want to be the kind of person and I want to have the kind of mindset where no matter what, I can find the joy and the good in things, while still being aware and honest with myself about how shitty of a situation I'm in, because I think we need to be fucking realistic and like rooted in reality. So shifting my current view, understanding, attitude, and behaviors so I can have a joyful life no matter what level of resources I have. Then I was kind of thinking about the different types of pleasure. Obviously there's like sex, food, music, intellectually stimulating conversation, a really good bath or shower, a pleasant smell, a nice texture, a beautiful person. All of these things bring pleasure. But when you aren't firmly rooted in the present moment, you can sometimes miss out on the glory of it all. Part of abundance is being present in the moment to enjoy it. This is when I came up with an affirmation that I use. This is how it goes. I am firmly rooted in the present moment. The past is dead and the future doesn't exist. What matters is right now, and I give myself permission to enjoy it. When you're stuck in the past or fixated on the future, you're missing the present, and you cannot have an abundant life like that. Another really crucial part of the idea of abundance, and specifically like Fehu, the rune as a whole, is just like when you're not prioritizing joy and rest, when you're not carving out time for it and scheduling time for yourself to rest, relax, recharge, and also like having things to look forward to, life feels fucking miserable. So just making sure that you schedule time for that and prioritize that and like make sure that you are enjoying your life. If you don't love life and don't have the ability to be grateful and excited about all the little things that make up the big picture of your life, you will be miserable. Money does not buy happiness, it buys stability. So, like, of course, having enough money to pay rent, bills, groceries, buy things when you need them. If something happens, being able to have money to cover that. That buys stability. And that is an important part of abundance, obviously, because when you're stable, you have the ability to not be focused on all of the bad things and being worried about what's going to go wrong next. And you have the like space to like focus on the things that make you happy and that fill your life with joy. So like, obviously, money is a part of it because in this world we live in a capitalistic society, right? That's just life. That's just how it goes. We have to have enough money to survive. It's hard to be able to let go of the anxiety of not having enough when you legitimately don't have enough. So don't get me wrong, it is a part of it. It is an important part of it. But the other part of it is about being able to actually love your life and see the beauty in all of the moments around you and all of the good things that are happening to you. And then I just wrote, fuck capitalism, fuck consumerism, period. On the final day, I had a talk with my therapist about all of this. And she definitely like opened my eyes to some things that I had been kind of missing out on a little bit. So obviously I stand by everything I said, that for me it is more mindset related. But she was basically telling me also like, I need to give myself permission to give myself what I need. When your cup overflows, you can give easily and freely to others. I deserve to be financially comfortable. And when I'm financially comfortable, it's much easier to give freely. And I need to be unapologetic about giving myself what I need. We talked about like my inner child really wants that like safety, stability, freedom of expression. But for various reasons, my like inner adult is denying that of myself, rather than just being like, two things can be true. I do need money and I want money, but also I want to focus on the mindset of abundance and shifting things in my life so that I can be happy wherever I'm at. But also, it is okay to want more money. It's not anti-spiritual to acknowledge that you don't have enough money or that you want more money. It's okay to want more. It's not like immoral to want more, but at the same time, like recognizing the difference between when it is consumerism and when it is me. Basically, what it all came down to for me is Fehu is about the financial safety and stability and freedom of expression, creatively using the resources you already have to create abundance in your life. And a big thing is the opposite of depression is expression. So creativity, creation, art, these are the things that heal the soul and they bring the sun back. And I really associate Fehu with Venus and with Taurus energy. Then the final thing is being in the present moment so that you can actually enjoy your life. So that was everything I had on Fehu during my week with Fehu in my 6-month rune journey. I don't know all of what I'm gonna do this month with Fehu, but I know I've already done a meditation today. I'm gonna do one for charging whatever item it is that I choose to be my rune for the runes that I'm gonna make. So I'm gonna do a meditation on charging that item with Fehu energy. I'm gonna do a meditation reaching out to the spirit of Fehu and asking for wisdom and asking how Fehu wants to work with me, etc., etc. And I don't know about the fourth one. We'll see. We'll see what happens. What I'm doing is I have these cardboard boxes that I cut open, and then I have some like partial bits here and then a longer box over here. Basically, I'm going to sew all of these together, and currently I'm sewing some flaps to fill in that hole right there. And then I'm going to sew this panel to this panel and then to that panel. Hopefully that'll work. We'll see what fucking happens with that. But the idea is that I'm making a little like background thing that I can place behind me when I'm filming. That's what I'm doing. I'm making a background. We'll see how I'm gonna decorate it. I'm not quite 100% sure yet. I'm really excited to see what happens though. The reason this is gonna go in the Fehu vlog is because today is day 2 of the month working with Fehu, and I had the idea to make this, and then I just felt really creatively inspired. So then during my meditation, I just channeled Fehu and kind of like charged myself with the energy, in particular for this creative project. This is the, at least for now, finished product of my kind of video background thing. Also, don't mind if you see this. This is just my stem toy thingy. It's just to help me stay focused and not dissociated. So this is my wonderful, beautiful, amazing runic grimoire. I'm definitely not going to be showing much of the actual pages of it, but I did want to talk about some stuff that relates to it. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, I believe I already mentioned one of the processes that I'm doing for each rune is the attunement exercise, which is from Matt Oren's book, Psychic Witch, and obviously I will not be divulging that exercise because that would be unethical. But I did want to talk about the main idea of it, which is just to attune to the energy of element, planet, anything, and how I applied that to the runes. It is just an exercise where you are exploring the 5 psychic senses with whatever it is that you are intending to attune with. I think you can really make your own exercise for that, or if you would like to, I do highly recommend getting Matt Oren's book, Psychic Witch, where the attunement exercise that I'm personally doing for not just these runes, but really anytime I need to do an attunement exercise. But like I said, you can definitely make it any way you want. You just reach out to the spirit of whatever it is and just be like, hey, I'm trying to vibe with you. Then you just kind of let it kind of speak to you through your senses. That's pretty much it. The very first thing that I did with Fehu was the attunement exercise. So that is my plan for every rune. Is day 1, before I even look back on the meanings of anything or do anything, I'm going to do the attunement exercise to kind of help ensure that I'm getting, like, for me, what feels like more of an accurate experience with the runes. I will not be discussing the specifics of what I experienced with the rune, just because I don't want to color anyone else's experience. But basically, for other attunement exercises I did while I was going through Psychic Witch with Benta, the Norse Witch, their book club, we did the elements, which I didn't really enjoy. I guess I'm not really that into elements. And the planets, which I love. I loved working with the planets. I loved getting to know the planets. When I did the attunement exercise with the planets, there was some planets that I got all 5 senses with, and it was like a very immersive experience. And then I think, like, specifically the sun, I did not. I only got like a few senses. I'm not 100% certain why. I just guess I didn't really connect with that planet in the same way as I did with others. I probably, if I would have only gotten a few of the senses, I would have done the attunement exercise multiple times for the rune. But I did get all 5 senses the first time I did the exercise, so I figured that was good enough for me and I didn't really need to do more than that. Something I'm always very, I guess I would say, like, conscious of, not like self-conscious, but just like very aware of when I do these different exercises is the length, like how long it takes me. And I feel like it never takes me as long as I think it should. So the whole attunement exercise for me, which includes grounding, centering, and entering alpha, and then also again, grounding, centering, and exiting alpha at the end. This whole thing only took me 13 minutes. I always have this idea that it's going to take me way longer. And so I kind of feel like, oh, I don't have the time to do this. But then also I feel a little bit like, maybe I would say self-conscious of like, oh, this should have taken me longer, or oh, that's a reason to doubt this was an actual experience, whatever. I have really definitely gotten out of that. I think that was a bigger issue, like maybe like a year ago. And now I'm just like, oh yeah, no, for me, my brain just, I've gotten to the point where I can very quickly do a lot of these things and it doesn't have to take me 2 hours for it to be a real experience. So I don't know if that's something you experience. I also do these things fairly quickly and that's not a bad thing. I'm going to make a collage art piece inspired by my experience in the attunement exercise with Fehu. I will probably put on some music that I, you know, felt related to what I was hearing while I was in this meditation, but also just kind of make the art piece using the colors that I associate with Fehu. And I also am going to add some herbs and a specific oil based on a meditation that I did today that I just was like, oh, I need to add this to it. For that, I am planning on channeling Fehu, trying to get really like in a deep flow state with Fehu guiding me while I'm doing that art piece. I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to be a spell, but just more like a very spiritual art piece. And I'm going to do that in my runic grimoire. Ultimately, the page for me is not only an offering to the spirit of Fehu, but also as a way to, I don't know how to explain it. I will link the video that I'm about to talk about. Bits and Bobs Divination did a grimoire flip through video, and they talked about a certain page that they made that was like a sort of spirit portal kind of situation that they use for certain spirit work. And I was kind of a little bit inspired by this idea. So I wanted to make this page not only as an offering to Fehu, but also as not quite a portal, but some kind of magical spread that I can basically open up to this part of my grimoire when I'm doing spell work with Fehu and gaze at it, let it open up this energetic portal, I guess, but I don't know, just as an energetic connection to kind of help me dive deeper into that energy and space and help me to connect with Fehu. I wrote a guided meditation and I recorded it for myself, and I think I want to do it a few times at least, because basically this guided meditation is just to specifically commune with the rune, asking the rune, what guidance, what wisdom do you have for me? I did also have a like binaural beat kind of thing in the background, so it just starts by getting you relaxing your whole body, and then entering alpha, and you can do that any way that is best for you, any way that you like. It doesn't really fucking matter. Whatever it is that you saw, heard, felt, smelled, etc. while you did the attunement exercise, you can kind of pick the parts that feel the best and the easiest for you to visualize again for this meditation and kind of relating to how you want to work with the runes. So I picked the landscape that I saw during the attunement exercise and visualized that, and I just kind of like relaxed into that. And then I repeated this phrase 3 times. I summon the rune Fehu and humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom. And then you're just going to like breathe into it, feel into it, focus on any like hits that you're getting. I think I did end up doing also the psychic dimmer exercise from Psychic Witch, which is just basically a way to increase your ability to use your psychic senses. So then you're just going to kind of focus on anything that Fehu is showing you, saying to you, all of the senses. Stay as long as you want to. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, this is kind of a lot of information for me. I want to make sure I want to make sure that I'm not going to forget any of this. So I think this is the point where I'm going to say goodbye. When I was ready to go, I affirmed to myself that I will remember everything from this meditation when I come back to everyday consciousness. And then I just tuned out and I wrote down everything. For me, what I've noticed with a lot of things is like with tarot, with runes, with plants, with different spirits that already have associations. What I've noticed is that for me, those tend to be generally fairly true, but they show up in a very specific way. Like Fehu relates to creativity, but specifically how Fehu wants to work with me is like that freedom to express myself, which like that relates to creativity, but that like creativity is a very broad subject. All of the things that the runes kind of relate to for the most part are very broad strokes. And what I usually notice is when I go in and say, hey, I want to work with you. Do you want to work with me? And that spirit says, yes, I want to work with you. And I say, okay, tell me how you want to work with me. Show me. How do you want to guide me? Instead of just creativity, love, sex. Obviously, I'm not getting that like broad stroke. I'm getting a very specific thing that this rune wants to teach me and like guide me in that is under its umbrella of creativity, sex, love. All of it comes down to, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's a lot and some of it is very personal, but obviously spirit work is very personal, not only for me, but also for that spirit. So this is for me. This is not necessarily how this spirit is going to work with everyone else. With any spirit that you want to work with, don't just go, oh, this is how this other person is working with this spirit. Hell no. That's not going to be helpful for you because my life is different than yours. It is really, really important for you to go, what do I need? What does my life look like? How does this spirit want to help me? So it's always really important to go, spirit of whatever this fucking thing is, how do you want to work with me? Rather than just, oh, this is for sex, love, and just work broadly. Like that's not, it could be fine, but it's just not going to be everything that it could be. So anyways, for me, it's very focused on expression, creativity. I know I just said all that, but just like generally creativity was coming up in a lot of the different things. So expression, creativity, creation, sexual healing, freedom, financial stability, feeling safe, specifically rose, foxes, and exploration. The one thing that I was genuinely a little bit surprised by was the fox. I didn't see that coming. I don't know what exactly that means. Like everything else and the rose, the exploration, all of that made a lot of sense to me. Not only with what the rune means to other people and what it has meant generally, but also with my specific experience in the attunement exercise and my whole 6-month rune journey, talking and writing about the rune. All of those things made sense except for the fox. That felt like a very left field thing for me, but it felt very important. I'm really excited to see what that means. To me, I'm feeling Fehu as a fairly mask energy, but not necessarily a he. Like I did hear some things from Fehu like speaking with a voice, and it was a very masculine voice, but I found myself when I was writing saying it, like writing it, and for me, whenever I use pronouns for spirits, I do not consciously think about what pronoun I'm writing as I'm doing it. I'm just like, Fehu, it taught me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I see it as an it. I just like let whatever flows out of me flow out of me while I'm working with the spirit. Sometimes it fluctuates, sometimes there's multiple, but this is not me saying 100% this spirit is this. This is how this spirit shows up to me. This is how I interact with this spirit. Your experience is just as valid as mine. We're just different people. Just wanted to put that little disclaimer there. After that meditation, which I did today again, after that I decided to look into foxes because again, I was really like surprised by that. And I just kind of wrote down a few things, different things I wanted to research further. Foxes are specifically associated with like trickery and cunning. I have a personal association with foxes and Loki, so I thought it was interesting that foxes came up with Fehu, which is associated to Freya. But I also work with Freya and Loki and find that they work together really well. So I'm wondering if that's just an extension of that energy that I have already been perceiving as like, they're like gay besties. Anyways, that's a personal thing. You are allowed to have different feelings. Don't be a dick. I just wrote a few different things down about that. And then Rose, which I was not surprised to see that I was told that there's a connection between Rose and Fehu. Herbal Magic, it's the book by Annabelle Margaret, the Green Witch on YouTube. I went to the section on the different herbs and I just found Rose and I wrote what I felt connected to what I was feeling from that meditation and also just the work I've done with Rose. To not get into too much details because again, some of it is personal, I was told to start working with the herb Rose more regularly. This is now the second time I've had a spirit I'm working with tell me to work with another specifically plant spirit. I'm curious if that's just me or if that is happening to other people. So let me know in the comments. There's parts of this meditation that I wrote that are like not personal. It's like relax and get into alpha. That's what you should always be doing. And at the end, relax and leave alpha. That's what you should always be doing. And then there's parts like the specific visualizations that had to do with my experience with the spirit that I don't want to share because that's me and my relationship with that spirit. Not only for me because that's private, but also I don't want to color anybody else's experience. If anyone else is going to see this and be like, oh, I want to do this thing. Have your own experiences. Tap into your own associations. Don't just like work with what other people think, basically. I'm really excited to work more with Rose and see what happens with that. And I'm also excited to do this visualization again, this guided meditation. Oh, something I was going to say, if you're going to do this yourself, when you do it, I personally went into this first guided meditation with Fehu, just saying generally, guide me, give me wisdom, fill me up, whatever you want to say. But I think maybe the next time I'll pick one of the things that Fehu kind of brought to me and be like, hey, I'd like more information on this, or I'll go in with a very specific question. I like to start with the first time with a spirit just being like, what do you have for me? How do you want to work with me? Give me the broad overlay. We don't need to get specific. I don't need to have a question other than just what's up? How do you want to work with me? But then when I do further meditations with that spirit in the future, I like to ask a specific question. How could you show up for me in this way? Or what do you want me to do? How can I show up for you? Probably in the next meditation I do with Fehu, I'll ask, what kind of offerings would you like? What things can I do to reciprocate and show up for you while you're showing up for me and helping me in my life. Usually I would do that on the first meditation, but this time I just wanted to see what was up. I just wanted to keep it pretty short. Moving on from that, I wanted to talk about the spells, some of the spells that I've planned and different ideas that I have. So one of the things is I often associate different spirits I work with this specific day of the week, and what I figured out with Fehu is that there's not a specific day of the week because of its meanings, like its connection with like love and sex and Freya. That could really associate it with Friday because that's related to Venus. Its connection to wealth and money magic, Thursday for Jupiter, and its connection to creativity and expression, Sunday, connected to the sun. There's not a specific day I associate with Fehu, and I'm interested to see going forward with the other runes if that's going to continue being the case, where it's just like none of these are just associated with one day, or if some of them I will feel connected to one day. I do usually still, with spirits, pick one day depending on the spirit and like the nature of our relationship. I typically pick one day of the week that I do offerings. I feel like for Fehu, even though there's a few days that I could do, I don't really want to lock down on one day. One of the things I want to do through this 2-year rune journey is with each spell, I want to hopefully do 4 spells per rune. Fingers crossed, I'm hoping I'll be able to do it.
Hello, it is March 20th. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got sick voice. I pretty much have been sick for like a week now. I was very, very sick, so I couldn't do anything related to the Fehu stuff I wanted to. The plan for me is to not be too serious about it. So if I do not end up having the time to do 4, which I think I said in this video that I was only planning on doing 1 spell per rune, but then I decided I wanted to do more. The ultimate goal is 4, but as long as I get 1, I will be happy. I'm just gonna go with the flow. Life happens. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I think I'm going to be talking about Psychic Witch way too much on this channel, but I did it based off of an exercise in Psychic Witch, the like mind magic exercise, and I slightly altered it and took some things out. I worked with Jupiter, Fehu obviously, and oh, that might have been it. I am not going to explain exactly what I did because it is pretty much that exact exercise, so you can get the book, find the exercise, or make up your own mind magic exercise. I think I also might have used, yeah, my money oil, which is something I could talk about in the future if anybody is interested in more about how I make oils. I also have, as a side note, my focus oil, I have a protection oil, I have an oil for happiness that I did actually make on a video. I think it was the fall video. Anyways, if there's any interest in how I do oils, like a deeper dive into how I do oils, I could make a video all about doing oils. I'm personally not one that will buy oils. I will make them myself if I need them. So I think I also used my money oil. Like I think I anointed myself with it and probably said my like money magic incantation. I might not have, but I think I did. Anyways, pretty much the intention was while I'm walking around to find coins. What I visualized was myself walking around different parts of my immediate outside, so the parking lot of my apartment complex and by the mailboxes and down this specific trail by my apartment. I just kind of visualized myself walking in all these different places, finding coins, picking them up, putting them in my pocket. And I didn't use an incantation or anything, just focused on that and worked with Jupiter and obviously Fehu. It worked, I think, the next day, 2 days later. It worked really quickly. However, in a way that wasn't what I thought it would be. I had expected to find coins outside, but instead we had had a guest spend the night and they had left some coins in the living room, on the floor, and in the bathroom, and they left without taking them. So I saw that as the fruition of my spell. Part of the reason I did the spell the way that I did is because I'm agoraphobic and I am really working on it and trying to get myself outside and work through all of that shit. I figured this would be a really good step because if I want the spell to work, I have to go outside. So I thought it was really funny that the spell worked but not with me going outside. It was inside coins that were the fruition of my spell, so I thought that was a little bit silly. I am going to do this spell more throughout always, I think, just because I think it's kind of fun and just like, hey, find coins. I specifically did that one first because it's so small and like inconsequential, and I just felt certain that like not only that it would come true, like that it would work, because that's like, there is no path of resistance. You know, because magic follows the path of least resistance. There's no resistance with that. It's like, if the spell didn't work, nothing bad would have happened. I wouldn't be like so focused on it because there's absolutely zero stakes in it. I just wanted to find coins. So I thought that would be like a good jumping off point to help my confidence. So, and it was, and it did, and it worked. So slay. The plan was originally I was going to talk about each spell or ritual after I finished them, but this one I want to talk about now because it relates to the outfit I'm wearing, and I feel fairly certain that by the end of the ritual, this will not be looking the way it looks now, and I think I look nice and pretty, so I wanted to show it off. This is my Fehu sex ritual. I wanted to make sure that I did something sex related in my month with Fehu because I definitely see such a big tie to sex with Fehu and with Freya and with Rose as well, which I talked about earlier. That is a big part of what Fehu communicated with me, is working with Rose and the connection with Freya, as well as sex and sexual healing and sexual pleasure. So I wanted to make sure to do that. So this is going to be a Fehu sex ritual, and the purpose that I wrote is to use self-sex pleasure as a way to get in touch with my body and my needs, and for like sexual healing, basically, to feel into my body and to use this as a way to like release some trauma. The components are obviously Fehu, Rose, Freya, and Venus. And today is, oh, I just realized this might be, I'm wondering how this will affect it being the spring equinox as well, with the equinox kind of being associated with like balance and that sort of thing. And now we're in the half of the year where more light is coming in. So I'm interested to see if that has any effects. I'm sure it will, but completely unintentional. I was meant to do this spell like a week ago. It is also a Friday. I just think sex magic on Fridays makes sense. The first element of it is the outfit I have on. I want to shout out Molly Roberts on YouTube. She also has a book, but I will link this video I'm talking about, where she talked all about like glamour magic with planetary correspondences, and I watched this a couple days ago and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna do that like spell ritual whatever thing on Friday. I should include some elements of this. I think that would be really fun and exciting. So thank you, Molly Roberts. And I would also like to take inspiration from that, and I want to do more glamour magic. I have been unemployed and very disabled and very mentally ill and dealing with a lot since I moved, pretty much, so it's been like 6 months at this point, and I've just been not doing what I used to with my physical appearance, with my outfits, with makeup, with like expression. That video kind of inspired me to want to give a shit again and like put on fun outfits and create fun outfits, and specifically to do them with glamour magic to add that magical element to my life and to help me, especially as I'm working through agoraphobia and getting outside, using glamour magic and planetary magic as a way to help me. Fehu wants me to get the fuck outside. Rose wants me to get the fuck outside. All the spirits I'm working with right now want me to get the fuck outside. Haha, I'm so bald. I just saw my reflection in the bottom of this mug, and wow, I'm bald. I know I'm bald, but wow, I'm bald. That was crazy. All the fucking spirits I'm working with right now want me to get the fuck outside. So, in helping me to get the fuck outside, I want to work more on glamour magic, specifically with like planetary magic, and probably working a lot with Mars to get me the fuck outside. Anyways, all that being said, that was, as always, too much information, but as always, I'm probably gonna keep a lot of it, so you're welcome. Today, I have a Venus and Fehu inspired outfit, which for me means pink, green. Obviously, I'm sure you can tell. Pink, green. I did the like circular blush. I don't know. I was just feeling it. Lots of blush on my nose. I mean, I kept it fairly simple, but I just wanted to do that. And then this is a sweater that I crocheted. I chose against any jewelry because I find jewelry pretty overstimulating. Also because this is going to be a sex ritual. I didn't really want to feel too encumbered. I didn't really want to have to take off a bunch of rings or feel like my necklace was choking me and not in the way I want. So I decided just keep it simple. Here is where I will include a better video of what I'm wearing. So the first step is to have the glamour on, and the next optional step is have a cup of rose tea. Today I'm not going to do that. Once I wrote it all out, I would actually like to make this a regular ritual that I do, because I think in a lot of ways it will legitimately help me a lot and create a lot of transformation in my life. So I do want to make this a regular thing. In the future, I think I would like to have a cup of rose tea before I start, or potentially at the end, but today I'm not going to do that, because I don't have a ton of rose left and I have another method of working with the herb today. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have my runic grimoire open on the artwork page that I talked about earlier. And then I am going to get a bit meditated, charge myself with Fehu, charge myself with Venus, evoke Rose, and evoke Freya. If this is something that you are trying to replicate, whatever spirits or things make sense to you for not only a sex spell, but for like a sexual pleasure and healing spell. If you work with Venus or Aphrodite, any other deity that makes sense, that's rad. If you work with Freya, that's rad. If you're not into evoking spirits for sex magic, that's rad too. Do whatever feels right. I'm charged. I've evoked the spirits I want to. I'm going to kind of say a prayer of basically just asking these spirits and these energies I'm aligning with to help facilitate this work of like tuning in with my body and working with my pleasure, specifically to help me release some of this trauma and call in this healing through orgasm. Then I'm just gonna do the things. I'm just gonna get in the moment, get in the mood, do the things, and specifically I'm going to use rose ice cubes. If you have an imagination, use it. Use those rose ice cubes however you so please within the idea of a ritual and also sex and, you know, self-sex. That is why I've chosen to not do the rose tea this time, because I already have rose tea ice cubes that I've made and I want to use those. When I start to climb that mountain, if you feel me, that is when I will again call on the spirits and energies, Fehu, Rose, Freya, Venus, and ask that they kind of help bring in that healing and release that trauma. For me specifically, because part of the purpose of this is to get in tune with my body, I don't want to just rush to get to the end. I want to really like be embodied and like feel the sensations. After that is finished, a key thing for me is going to be just like not rushing to get up and clean up and take care of everything, and just like sitting there for a second, letting the breath stabilize, deep slow breaths, letting my mind freely drift, letting any thoughts or feelings or realizations or anything naturally come up without judgment, without shame, just letting all of the things happen. When I'm ready, I'm just gonna write down those experiences. When I write down everything and get it all out, having any emotional reactions, and I wrote down specifically, any reaction you have is valid and correct. You might cry or become angry. Anything you feel is right and perfectly normal. Write it all out, and then write what you need. A hug, a nap, chocolate, to talk about it in therapy, whatever it is. And it can be multiple things. So that is like a very key part here, is to not just leave it at that, but to feel into what need those things are highlighting for me. And then once I'm done writing, I'm going to anoint that page with whatever remnants of the ice cubes are left. And then just send the spirits on their way, release the energies that I charged myself with, ground myself, sit with it, relax with it, and not move on to the next thing I need to do too quickly. That's all I have for now. Bye!
Can you imagine just anything? Can you picture pictures of things that never was? Or can you only picture pictures of other dreamers, elusive dreams like used up reality? Did you ever succeed in reaching through to somebody else and touch them? Or are you like me, forever condemned to dwell within yourself? Are you a true poet, or did you read your cards all wrong and don't really know where you belong? The grass is bathing in morning dew. The night still lingers. Push away the new day. Hold on to what you know. Hold on to what you know. Dreamers and believers see the other side. Illusionists and preachers break into the light. Can you also see something through the mist? I can see dancing ghosts. Rising up from the underground, they dance for us, pointing out the direction home. How deep is the divorce between light and what we see? How vast is the distance between words and reality? Are you one of the lightless seekers? One of the speechless speakers? One of the sleepless dreamers? Or the godless believers? Come to me. The grass is bathing in morning dew. The night still lingers. Push away the new day. Hold on to what you know. Hold on to what you know. Dreamers and believers see the other side. Illusionists and preachers break into the light. The light. Can you imagine just anything? Can you picture pictures of things that never was? Or can you only picture pictures of other dreamers, elusive dreams like used up reality?
Another thing I wanted to talk about is that I did write a prayer for Fehu, and I have been saying it every single day. The thing with prayer is that it takes a lot of time for them, for like the results to show up, if that makes sense. You know, it's just like one of those things I've been doing as a part of the journey to just help me connect with Fehu, honor Fehu, work with the spirit, work with the energy. And even if I'm not doing anything else with Fehu that day, I am at the very least doing a prayer for Fehu and connecting with it in that way.
thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, leave a comment if you have any, comments, questions, concerns, and please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this about my rune journey. Hopefully, if nothing goes wrong, knocking on freaking wood, the plan is to do one video every month for each rune. Hopefully that can keep happening, if nothing else sets me off course. Yeah, so if you want to see more, definitely subscribe, and also let me know in the comments if there's anything that you would want to hear me talk about generally. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, and stay crafty, stay kind.